In 1972, an Italian Benedictine priest named Pellegrino Ernetti made a claim that would shake scientific and religious circles for decades. He asserted that he had helped build a machine capable of capturing and visualizing events from the past, as if history itself were being broadcast across time like a television signal. It was not a time machine in the sense of transporting people or objects, but rather a device that allowed one to watch history unfolding in real time. And the most shocking part? Ernetti claimed he had used this machine to witness some of the most sacred and controversial moments in human history, including the Crucifixion of Jesus Christ, speeches by Napoleon Bonaparte, performances of ancient Greek plays lost for millennia, and even the construction of ancient monuments. He called the device the Chronovisor. And according to reports, the machine was eventually dismantled and its components hidden within the secret archives of the Vatican, where they remain locked away to this day, far from the eyes of the world. But who was Pellegrino Ernetti? How did a Catholic priest become the alleged inventor of one of the most revolutionary technologies in human history? And why would the Vatican be so desperate to keep such a discovery hidden? Pellegrino Ernetti was not an ordinary priest, nor a delusional eccentric. Born in 1925 in Rocca Santo Stefano, Italy, Ernetti possessed impeccable credentials. He was a Benedictine monk, the official exorcist of the Diocese of Venice, a renowned musicologist specializing in Gregorian chant, a professor of pre-polyphonic music at the Benedetto Marcello Conservatory in Venice, and, curiously, he also had formal training in physics. This unusual combination of deep religious knowledge and scientific understanding formed the foundation of his extraordinary claims. The story of the Chronovisor began in the 1950s, when Ernetti was working at the physics laboratory of the Catholic University of Milan. According to his later accounts, he was collaborating with a select group of brilliant scientists on a project that initially had far more modest goals. The team allegedly included some astonishing names. Enrico Fermi, the Italian physicist instrumental in the development of nuclear energy and winner of the 1938 Nobel Prize in Physics, and Wernher von Braun, the controversial German rocket scientist who became a central figure in the American space program after World War II. The presence of these two scientific giants lends initial credibility to the story, but also raises serious questions. Fermi died in 1954, meaning any collaboration would have had to occur before that year. Von Braun, meanwhile, was in the United States throughout the 1950s, deeply involved in ballistic missile development. How and why would these men have collaborated with an Italian priest on such a radical project? Ernetti never provided specific details about the nature of this collaboration, which only deepened both skepticism and mystery. According to Ernetti, the concept behind the Chronovisor was based on a fascinating physical theory. Everything that happens leaves an energetic imprint in space-time. Every sound produced, every image reflected by light, every event that occurs generates waves that propagate and, in some way, persist. The idea was that these waves could be captured, amplified, and reconstructed, allowing past events to be viewed with the same clarity as watching television. Think of it as an extraordinarily advanced form of archaeology. Instead of digging into the ground in search of physical artifacts, one would be digging into the layers of space-time itself, capturing echoes of light and sound, still resonating through dimensions we cannot normally perceive. It is a theory that borders on science fiction, yet it parallels real concepts in quantum physics and relativity, where space and time are intertwined and where, theoretically, information cannot be completely destroyed. Ernetti described the Chronovisor as a complex machine composed of a series of antennas made from mysterious metal alloys, capable of capturing different wavelengths of residual energy. Oscilloscopes were used to visualize the captured waves, and a processing system translated them into recognizable images and sounds. The machine occupied an entire room and required meticulous calibration to tune into specific moments in time and space. In 1972, Ernetti gave a detailed interview to Italian journalist Vincenzo Maddaloni, published in the magazine Domenica del Corriere. It was in this interview that he publicly revealed the existence of the Chronovisor, and described some of the astonishing things he claimed to have witnessed using the device. One of his most dramatic assertions was that he had watched the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. He described the scene in vivid detail: the crowds, the Roman soldiers, the suffering on Christ's face as he carried the cross. Ernetti even presented a photograph that he claimed was captured through the Chronovisor, showing the face of Jesus moments before his death. The image depicted a man with half-closed eyes, an expression of pain, and his head slightly tilted. It was a disturbing image, and if authentic, it would represent the most important visual proof in the history of Christianity. But there were problems. Skeptical researchers quickly noted that the photograph bore a striking resemblance to a well-known sculpture of Christ housed in a sanctuary in Collevalenza, Italy. The sculpture was created by an artist named Lorenzo Ferri, and when compared side by side with Ernetti's image, the similarities were undeniable. When confronted with this evidence, Ernetti never directly admitted fraud, but he also never provided a satisfactory explanation or additional proof. Beyond the crucifixion, Ernetti claimed to have used the Chronovisor to witness other pivotal historical moments. He said he had seen the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, speeches by Napoleon Bonaparte, rallies by Mussolini, and even the Last Supper of Jesus with his apostles. Each account was described with specific details, yet no supporting evidence beyond his testimony was ever presented. One of the most intriguing claims involved classical theater. Ernetti asserted that he had watched complete performances of ancient Greek and Roman plays that had been lost for centuries. In particular, he claimed to have viewed and recorded a tragedy titled Thyestes, written by the Roman poet Quintus Ennius. The play, composed in the 2nd century BCE, was lost in antiquity, surviving only in fragments quoted by later authors. Ernetti said he transcribed the full text after watching it through the Chronovisor. In 1965, several years before his public interview about the Chronovisor, Ernetti published what he claimed was the complete text of Thyestes. Classical Latin scholars quickly identified serious issues. The Latin style did not match the period of Ennius. There were anachronisms and grammatical constructions that would not have been used in the 2nd century BCE. The play appeared to be a modern composition attempting and failing to convincingly imitate archaic Latin. This severely undermined the credibility of Ernetti's claims. So why would a man of reputation, a respected priest and established academic, make such extraordinary claims that could be so easily challenged? Several possibilities emerge. The first is that Ernetti genuinely believed he had developed something revolutionary but was mistaken about its capabilities. Perhaps he created a device that produced images and sounds, but in reality, it was capturing interference, subconscious projections, or random noise that his mind interpreted as historical events. The human brain is remarkably adept at finding patterns and meaning in randomness, a phenomenon known as pareidolia. The second possibility is that there was indeed a device, but its abilities were greatly exaggerated. Perhaps the Chronovisor could detect some form of residual radiation or electromagnetic echoes, but not with the clarity or precision Ernetti claimed. To compensate for these limitations, he may have filled the gaps with imagination, religious expectations, and historical knowledge. The third darker possibility is that the entire story was a deliberate fabrication. But this raises a troubling question. Why? Ernetti did not seek fame or fortune. He never attempted to commercialize the device or profit from his claims. He continued his work as a priest and musicologist until his death in 1994, living a relatively modest life. If it was a hoax, what was the motive? Some theorists suggest Ernetti may have been used as part of a disinformation operation, spreading a fantastical story to divert attention from genuine research taking place elsewhere. During the Cold War, secret projects explored many exotic areas of physics, including time manipulation, remote viewing, and other unconventional technologies. Perhaps the Chronovisor story served as a smokescreen, ensuring that anyone investigating such topics would be dismissed as a crank by association. Then there is the Vatican. Ernetti claimed that the Catholic Church was aware of the Chronovisor, and had ordered the machine dismantled, with its components hidden in the Vatican's secret archives. The official reason, he said, was that the device was too dangerous, capable of invading privacy, manipulating financial markets by viewing future events, or destabilizing governments by exposing historical secrets. But there is a more unsettling theological reason. If the Chronovisor truly worked, it could confirm or refute core events of Christian faith. It could prove that the crucifixion and resurrection occurred exactly as described in Scripture, an extraordinary validation. Or it could reveal inconsistencies, contradictions, or events that directly challenge official doctrine, potentially devastating the faith of billions. The Vatican has long maintained strict control over information that could affect doctrine or belief. The Vatican Secret Archives, officially renamed the Vatican Apostolic Archives in 2019, contain millions of documents accumulated over 1,000 years of church history. Many deal with sensitive political matters, scandals, heresies, and internal investigations. Access is extremely limited, even for qualified scholars. If the Chronovisor truly exists and is hidden within those archives, it would represent one of the greatest suppressions of knowledge in modern history. Imagine possessing a device capable of definitively answering questions humanity has debated for centuries. Who built Stonehenge and why? What really happened to the Library of Alexandria? How were the pyramids constructed? Who was Shakespeare truly? The implications would be endless, but with such power comes immense danger. Imagine governments using the Chronovisor to spy on citizens' pasts, constructing complete psychological profiles of anyone. Imagine criminals using it to uncover secrets of powerful figures and blackmail them. Imagine a world where no moment in human history is private or safe. There are also profound philosophical implications. If we can observe the past, are we merely watching recorded events? Or does our observation somehow affect them? Quantum physics suggests that observation can influence the state of particles. Could observing the past alter it in some way, creating temporal paradoxes? In his final years, Ernetti continued to insist that the Chronovisor was real, but he refused to provide further technical details or additional evidence. He claimed he had taken a vow of silence, likely under orders from church authorities. In 1994, shortly before his death, Ernetti reportedly made a partial confession to a close relative, admitting that some of the evidence he had presented was fabricated, but insisting that the device itself was real and functional. This partial confession is deeply frustrating. If the device was real but the evidence was fake, why not present genuine proof? If everything was fabricated, why maintain until his death that the core of the story was true? Modern researchers who have examined the Chronovisor story reach mixed conclusions. Some believe Ernetti was a well-intentioned fantasist who became entangled in his own imagination. Others suggest there may have been a primitive device that inspired the legend, with its capabilities vastly exaggerated over time. And some believe the suppression and discrediting of the story were deliberate, part of a coordinated effort to hide a revolutionary technology that truly works. Modern physics does not completely rule out the theoretical possibility of something like the Chronovisor. Einstein showed that space and time are intertwined. Quantum physics suggests that information cannot be fully destroyed. There are theories involving wormholes, space-time curvature, and other exotic phenomena that, under extreme conditions, might allow interactions with the past. But such concepts would require energies and technologies far beyond what existed in the 1950s, or even today. Still, the fascination endures. The idea of witnessing history firsthand, of definitively answering the great questions that shaped humanity, is irresistible. And as long as the Vatican keeps its archives closed, as long as full transparency is denied regarding what lies hidden within those kilometers of underground shelves, Speculation will continue. Pellegrino Ernetti took his secrets to the grave. The Chronovisor, if it ever existed, remains dismantled in some dark vault, its components scattered to ensure it can never be rebuilt. Or perhaps it never existed at all, nothing more than the dream of a man desperate to unite his deep faith with his passion for science, attempting to build a bridge between the divine and the empirical, one that ultimately proved to be an illusion. The truth, like so many others we explore, remains hidden, waiting for the day when someone dares to search for it in the places we are not allowed to look.